We were in executive session until 8, what time is it? Sorry, 9:50. And I will just make the statement that we met with our attorney in executive session and will be in communication with Mr. Frampton. So we are moving on. Our next start is information items, communications, and correspondence. I have one. For those of you who are on the phone, I would appreciate it if you would mute yourselves. Thank you so much. Okay, so one comment that I received via email was from Chris Dobb, and there were actually two communications, one on December 15th that he sent to us, which is very lengthy, and then another one on December 27th. I am going to read the one from December 27th. He says, "Good morning, happy holidays to all. I hope this message finds you well. Following my review of the minutes from the recent Open Space Commission meeting, I have identified concerns related to collusion and ethical considerations. I request your immediate attention to the meeting minutes of the Open Space Commission from November 8th, 2023, Section 5B, and the notes at the end of Section 5, and also the meeting minutes from October 11th, 2023, Section 5A. Suzanne, I have this. You can just write it. And to ensure transparency and community awareness, I kindly request that my communications to the Selectmen on this matter be published as public comment. Furthermore, I am committed to attending the next Selectmen's meeting and respectfully request that this topic be included as an agenda item. I believe that addressing these concerns publicly and promptly is crucial in maintaining the integrity of our community interest. Your cooperation in this matter is greatly appreciated." He goes into much more greater length on his December 15th letter, which I will publish at the end of our minutes, and I will put that in as his minutes as well. But it's pretty lengthy, and we're running a little late. But I will put it in, and then you'll all be able to read it. I also received some communication from two members of White Sands Beach Association thanking us for putting in a berm on the White Sands Beach to try to alleviate some future flooding from the next storm that may hit. And they were appreciative of it because they also put it on the private side of White Sands Beach, and we're hoping this will alleviate some flooding in the parking lot and the road in front of those homes. We are now going to move on to public comment. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to do public comment? Oh, by the way, I'm not even on. One of my turn your mics on. Sorry. You have to hold it for a while. Fred, come on up. Fred Behringer is here in the audience, and he is going to speak if we can get these mics to come on. Otherwise, he's going to speak louder.
I can do that if you'd like.
Okay. Oh, no, hers isn't on yet. It's because it's blinking.
Still blinking.
To go, you can speak loud.
Okay. Well, Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on something I brought up a few weeks ago, the signs at the end of Mile Creek Road at 156. And the concern is, are they really needed? And does the town have any say over where these go? And it seems to me a lot of signs are going up in communities at curbs and different stop areas that their value is questionable, and I'm concerned about the blemish on our beautiful town and the waste of resources. And I'm just wondering if the town has any control over where these will go in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the audience who has public comment? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to address us in public comment? Please unmute yourselves and state your name and your address.
Peter Doolittle, 65 Center Beach Avenue, Old Lyme.
Go ahead, Peter.
I just want to just comment on the recent the destruction that was done to the wooden crib structure at the Swan Brook outlet. With this recent storm, and I just wanted to state that, given that the thing didn't last but not even a year with this construction and the repair, it's imperative that we work together to come up with a long-term solution to this. And I'm also a member of the board of directors of the Hawkness Beach Association, and we do have several members of our association, and I know there are some members of the Miami Beach Association that would like to work with the town and start developing a long-term plan so that we don't rely on that wooden crib structure going forward. I know it's a long-term. I know, we've had these conversations before. It's a long-term, but if we don't get going on now, it's just going to be problems. And then I had one other comment that, assuming they're going to try to do some sort of a rebuild of the damaged or almost destroyed crib structure, I just want to point out that for some reason, when they rebuilt it this past time, they didn't put the wooden support structures across the top that had always been there historically. And in my opinion, I'm not an engineer, but it looks the way it broke apart. It looks like if there was maybe some support there, it could have lasted. So, if we're going to be relying on this for a couple of years of functional use, when they rebuild it, they really got to take a look at, beefing it up a little bit and make sure it lasts. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else on the phone who would like to do public comment?
Hi, this is Nancy O'Brien. Oh, go ahead.
No, ladies first.
Hi, this is Nancy O'Brien, also from the Hawkness Beach Association. I second everything that Peter said. The other thing that I just was wondering, if in the short term, I've been taking walks down the beach, and there's actually been people standing on the broken pieces of it taking pictures, and I'm just concerned that somebody's going to get hurt. So I don't know if the town can come and at least remove all the broken pieces that are kind of in the center of it, and then also before they float off. So I just thought I would make that request. Thank you very much. Happy New Year's, everyone.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else?
Yeah, Dan Montano, 8 Flagler, member of Miami Beach. Basically second what the previous two callers said. And I was involved working with Tim, and I remember, Martha, you came to the meeting we had a couple years ago at the crib area, so you're familiar with it. And, the crib was always just a short-term solution, and I guess the problem was that in order to do a long-term solution, it would take too long, and we had a sort of an immediate flooding problem. But my whole thing is if whatever you guys can do to expedite a long-term solution, I got the impression, I think, from the engineer who was there that it's sort of similar to what Hawk's Nest has done, except on a smaller scale. But I know it's going to take a long time, since it took a couple of years just to get the damn crib built, for crying out loud. So that my whole thing is just whatever you guys can do to expedite getting a long-term solution done that would, stop the flooding. And because it's even dangerous, sooner or later somebody's going to need an ambulance to go down there, and they're not going to be able to get down there because of the water. And there's a lot of damage to houses, and people have lost cars because of the flooding. So it hasn't gone away. Unfortunately, the crib hasn't helped, but we always knew the crib was just a short-term solution. And that's it. I just thank you for your past help and your future help.
Thank you, Jan. Is there anyone else on the phone? Okay. Public comment is going to be closed. And again, if you are on the phone, please mute your phone so that we cannot hear the feedback. All right. We did make an amendment to the agenda prior to executive session to accept our minutes from December 4th and also our special meeting on December 18th. If I could have a motion on those 2 minutes, please.
I'll make a motion, but Martha, I do have a change.
We'll address that.
Got it.
So motion to accept minutes. Jim seconds. Is there any discussion?
I have a correction on the minutes of December 18th. Under item number 4, the second line, the name Maria Marchand is misspelled. It's Marchant, M-A-R-C-H-A-N-T.
Great. Thank you. Anything else? Jim, did you have any corrections?
No.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, I call for a vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes with that one correction?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we will make those notations. All right, moving on to old business, the senior center renovation update. The last certificate is being emailed up today. I received last minute correspondence from our connection at the state for GECD, and she needed one more piece of paper signed, and Vicki just has to authorize it, and then it will go up to the state, and then we should, hopefully by weekend, have our go-ahead to get moving. That would be great. Our second thing under old business, do you have any questions on that? Okay. Do you have Horseneck Creek Landing update? I met with a group from Open Space, Harbor Management, and Fred Behringer on the 27th, and I also visited Horseneck Creek Landing on the 29th. At that meeting on the 29th, the visit, there was discussion between the Open Space and Harbor Management people who were there, who were Greg Fatoma and Michael Presti, and they discussed the possibility of
Was that the 29th or the 27th, that it was only those two?
The 29th was only the two, right at the landing. We met at the landing.
Okay.
And to make some adjustments, they were discussing making adjustments to the fence that is there and extending a bit because of the fact that they, in Open Space, made a motion at their meeting, and they have to check their minutes of what exactly it said. But if they're going to change it, they have to go back at their next meeting and make the change, and then they can proceed, because I did check with council on that. So if the minutes stated that they were doing the fence a certain way, they have to go back and revote. If they said that they were just putting in a fence, blank, they can go back and do it anytime. But they do have to check their minutes.
I have a question. It's public space, but Open Space gets to decide?
Open Space is the land. Harbor Management.
Okay. And that agreement was made that Open Space would control the land?
Yes, and there is a document, which I can share with you, that was agreed upon between the two at what was at that time called the 36-1 Button Ball Committee.
If you could provide that.
No problem. Stop in my office after and we'll get that.
To clarify, we
have been made aware that there's possibly a 20-foot section of fence missing that should be there?
That's what we talked about on the 29th.
Where is that? I went down there on the 31st, and it wasn't obvious to me. It seemed like the private property was well marked, and that the trail was well marked, and
so
landing was well marked.
If you go up the drive, which has, and it's 40 feet wide, and basically, well, it has to be 20 feet from the center to either side. And supposedly the fence on the left that kind of angles down to the rock is a little more on our side. It should have been straightened out and gone a different way. A little bit more towards ours. And I guess Tim was there prior to this. He had suggested it. And then on the right-hand side is also some of our land in that area, and it should be going straight across there. Not that it interferes with the driveway. And the other thing that they talked about is that there's a boulder that was placed in the road going up to the marshland. And we talked about removing that because if anybody was ever in danger, we could not get our public safety personnel up that road. So we're going to remove that. But we could probably put some type of a, they talked about possibly putting a rope or something across just so that people will not drive a car up that way.
So the question was whether or not there was an agreement between the two parties to put in a fence of an agreed-to length, and that it was not installed.
Well, the fence was installed.
But not as long as they had
Originally,
decided.
when they first,
Right.
so in the paperwork of who is doing what in that area, it doesn't specifically state the length of the fence. It was a meeting down at Horse Creek Landing where they walked for about an hour and a half and figured out where it was going to go. And then when they were installing it, and there were members from both commissions there, they made a change, and I think that change was reflected in Open Spaces minutes, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, and open spaces, but not the two together.
What?
Open space minutes, but not the minutes of the meeting of the two parties.
Right.
Okay.
And so they made some changes. And why, or it's not specific in their minutes, but they have, if the reading of their minutes has to state that the fence was going a certain way. If it doesn't, it just says we're putting in a fence. They can go back and correct the fence now.
Were some of the topics for the meeting on the 27th regarding abutters or just the fence?
The meeting on the 27th talked about basically the fence, and there were some concerns about the abutter. There's two.
So was that
their input into decisions that might have been made. But I think we've corrected that. And so the fence, you might have seen some fencing on the land that was laying down along the walkway. That was some additional fencing that had been purchased. They're probably going to have to purchase a few more pieces, and Open Space is committed to do that. So they will be correcting it. It may not be before the snow flies, but they're going to be on it, and Public Works will go down again and dig the holes for the post. I also asked, Greg Fatoma said that I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, but the person who had done was doing some surveying for them was going to go down and throw a line, because, you know, when you stand there and you say, okay, this is straight, everybody's perception is a little off. So I said, would you just ask him to put in a few more stakes so that we really know where the line is? So he said he was going to go down and do that last week.
Got it. So the fence is being addressed. My concern are the other issues that were discussed on the 27th being addressed as well?
There was some discussion about an agreement that might have to be put into place, but as I know of right now, that some of the wishes of the abutter are probably not going to be met, so maybe we're not going to do that. But that's as far as I know right now. And no agreements are signed without the approval of the three of us. So you don't have to worry about anything going awry, because they cannot do anything. That is town land, and it doesn't matter who's taking care of it. It is town land, and we are taking care of it.
Okay. So, to be continued.
Can it be? Well, let's hopefully, the fence goes up, everybody's happy, and we move on, and Harbor Management is planning on putting in, getting a permit for a dock landing, and we hope to see that later in 2024. Okay, moving on to Hawks Nest Beach sidewalk repair. We did get some bids on repairing a sidewalk, and the reason the sidewalk was cracked was because of when Monster Vac went down to clean out the crib with the power washer. It appears that a truck may have rolled over the small sidewalk section that they have and made a few cracks in two of the sections. Maybe it's three. We received bids between $1,800 and $8,800. We're going to proceed with the $1,800 bid. I asked that it not be taken care of until after the spring, March, April-ish, so that the snow doesn't fly, and if we have any more of these nor'easters that come up, there's no sense risking new work being done. I will address the crib, but I will do that under general discussion because it is not on it is not on our agenda for today. Actually, I'm sorry, it is. Next one, Miami Beach. Anybody have any questions on Hawks Nest? Okay. Miami Beach, Hawks Nest Beach. Sorry, I was reading wrong. Crib damage. Yes, our crib was destroyed in the storm from a week ago Monday, and it took out the eastern side of the crib, I think it was 3 sections, one of which was retrieved down at Old Lyme Shores, and there is other debris that washed up on the beach and had been placed along the rocks. Ed went down this morning. I went down this weekend. Ed went down this morning and cleaned that up for me. So that is gone. And on Friday afternoon, I met with Keith from DACO Engineering, and he looked at it. And I want you to know that Keith actually even came the day of the storm. He said, you never, as an engineer, you never learn what is right or wrong with a design until you actually see it being hammered by a storm. So he came down during that storm and watched for a while. We do have some time-release video that a neighbor took, but that storm just demolished that eastern side. So Keith talked to me, and as you know, if we apply for a permit to recreate the crib as it was, it's a very short process. And because it was damaged in a storm, it should be a shorter process. So we have to decide amongst ourselves. The permit itself will be between $5,000 and $10,000 for the permit, and then there will be an additional cost of rebuilding the crib. Keith said that we need to rebuild the crib now for safety reasons moving forward, but we have to go to a 3-year term, a long-term plan. And that plan is going to have to include the players from Hawks Nest and Miami Beach, because this is more than just the crib down at the end of the beach. This entails a lot of Swan Brook, parking lot flooding, flooding on Pond Avenue, and how are we going to manage this? So Keith said that the new crib could cost us up to $100,000. That would include the permit. This would have to be a special appropriation from the Board of Finance at some point in time. And basically, it's up to the 3 of us of how we want to proceed.
Well, I think it's been coming for a long time, and he has done a lot of work in this town, as well as mine in the surrounding communities. I trust him. However, I think we are bound to having other people give us advice on it, especially when we're talking about this large amount of money. However, I do think Keith is the expert. We've worked with him personally. I've seen him in business settings. I trust him. But because of the size and scope of the work, I think we have to get other quotes from other engineers, perhaps.
Well, his quote is only for the permit.
Right.
And then
Understood.
The design has already been done. As you heard, I think it was Peter Doolittle who said they didn't put the supports in across the top.
You're talking about the old crib. The design was there. So we're talking about a temporary fix.
But that's the temporary.
Toward the long-term solution.
So the temporary fix is going to cost us $100,000.
Correct. Is there any federal money out there or state money that we can apply for? Not for the short term, because the crib does have to be fixed.
I will tell you that the State Emergency Management Services did request what type of damage had been done in various towns. They were thinking about putting in a FEMA claim because, as you know, McCook's Beach lost theirs.
Right.
So I think we're on the list. Whether we get any FEMA money, we're not sure. But Dave Roberge did put in a claim for the crib.
Good. Well, I think we have no choice but to move forward.
So,
practically speaking, will the crib do us any good? Because we get that outfall clogged with sand regardless, whether it's there or not.
We get what
What
you
practical
mentioned.
purpose would rebuilding the crib do at this point?
Is there another solution?
That would be calling in we've got to call in a lot of players on that one. And I'm more than happy to do it. We can have a special meeting and pull in all the...
Has Keith, if we ask this question to Keith, will he have a suggestion or a recommendation?
You cannot change the design to get your deep permit. If you go ahead to try to get a new deep permit, it will take 3 years for a new design. And he said, and you will become very best friends with the people at deep. And they're not going to like you because the real design change that should be done is, ideally, is to take that pipe and extend it out into Long Island Sound.
Now you're talking Army Corps and all that.
Oh, you are. Big time. So that's the real, and there's no guarantee, and as he said, even that, there's no guarantee it will work. Part of it is the pitch of the pipe. It's not really, doesn't have a lot of pitch to it. But I will say that since the damage has been done, the pipes have been clear and running great.
Well, that's kind of what I'm driving at. The way that, ironically, storms tend not to strip the beach out at Soundview, Miami. It tends to feed the beach. So when these storms come through, these pipes end up getting clogged. And I'm wondering if the blocking the sand from moving naturally, that the crib does, if it actually does more harm.
So
that's an open question.
Keith said that it's possible that where the crib is basically straight now, like this, he's wondering if it would be better that this one stays like this, but this side goes like this with a little front.
So is that
here.
changing the design, though?
That would be a change. So he's not putting in a permit for that. So he's wondering if the eastern side comes out like this and this stays just straight as it does, and then just has a little bit of a frontage on it. There are things to be considered, but that's for another conversation that we need to have, and I think we have to have a meeting, a special meeting, just to discuss that.
Okay, then let's call a meeting for that.
We could just get a determination from Keith or someone knowledgeable as to, practically speaking, what does the crib currently serve? If it's as designed.
Okay.
What is it? Is it keeping sand out of the outfall, or is it just...
So,
Martha,
I think that what he'd like to do is get the permitting done, and that's fine. And then we would have to bid out. He did. Todd Macknick did the work, and he strongly suggests we continue on that side because he says Todd knows what he's doing.
Oh, I agree.
And Todd was very concerned that it broke, and I said, look, it's Mother Nature. She chose to do this. It wasn't anything. So I think we get the permit, but as the permit process is moving, we have a special meeting. We get some of the players from Hawks Nest, Miami Beach. We get Keith here, and we have a large discussion, a working discussion.
Agreed.
And then see where we go from there.
Would that be a public meeting? I'm only asking because I know someone who has done a lot of work with remediation and keeping sand from moving in and piling up in other places. And I think people like that would be interested to at least hear or
do they live in Old Lyme?
Yeah.
Have they applied for the Flood and Erosion Control Board? Boy, would we love them.
I think they're on a couple of boards already.
Okay. Well,
okay.
We'll have to.
And have some patent solutions, maybe not for the crib, but for other types of erosion and sand movement.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we need as many voices as possible.
Okay. So I didn't know if it was open to people that we might invite just to listen in. That may
I think it would be great if we could do this. I find that we almost need a think tank.
Of course.
That's
what I was
that's
getting at. Keith works well with groups like that.
Yeah, and I think we need to come up with an idea and see what people think going forward. So we can work that out, and we'll find some time, perhaps right after the budget's done,
Or during.
Or during.
Yeah.
We'll find a day.
I mean, we can keep coming.
I know.
I would agree,
Yeah, I don't think.
that with Peter and Nancy and everyone who
And
called it
even
a
Dan.
long-term solution.
Yep.
These people have been following it for a long
We
time.
got that done in Old Colony with federal money. Sheffield Brook was redone with federal money.
Right.
So I think there's precedent for getting federal grants to do this.
And I can check with our senators, Fred.
Reps, everything.
And there's also, I think, money for marsh restoration. There may be a way of restoring the natural flow of the brook that would alleviate flooding.
There's also
Engineered marsh.
there's a group in Fenwick and Old Saybrook that's been working with problems such as this.
Which will,
Right.
won't take up too much room, but could really alleviate flooding due to a natural solution. Then, do culverts.
Okay. So, on to new business, senior center financing. As you know, Jude, you were on the Board of Finance, and a lot of times we talked about how we're going to handle that. So Anita has done some work at the request of our treasurer, Matt Ward, and trying to look at some options for what we would have to do. Would you please be so kind, Anita, to give Jerry Baker a copy of that? Jerry, you want a copy of this?
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thanks very much.
All right. This discussion started with Tim before he left. So we discussed a few different options, and then I also reviewed it with Matt Ward, and we went through this. Basically, it's a lot of different numbers on here, but if you basically look at it, is originally it was a 5.3, and the numbers on the left-hand side were what I talked about with Tim. If you look on the right-hand side, it says updated 12/27/23. That was per the paper that was given to me for the state of Connecticut. So I attached all the notes. And that was the 3.313193. So to come up with that number, basically we discussed taking approximately $2 million from fund balance. Basically, if you look at my numbers above, your estimated fund balance at the end of last fiscal year with what we will turn back over will be approximately 29.61%. According to many different, a healthy fund balance is usually about a 15% and could go up. They usually say you have to run the town 2 months without any money coming in. So if you take away $2 million from the surplus, it will reduce it by approximately 4.88%, bringing you down to a 24.73 estimated. It could bring you down to a 24, it could bring you up to a 25. It depends on the final number when the audit is done. With that being said, so that would be taking approximately $2 million from fund balance. The balance of the 1.3 would be financed, and with financing, there is a fee for the bank. It's called bond counsel fee of between $3,000 and $4,000 for the process. On the bottom of the page, you'll see if we do a 3-year, the estimated rate is a 4.6, and if you do a 4-year, the estimated is a 4.5. The difference between the two is approximately $27,000 in interest over the life of the 3 or 4 year.
So we would save almost
if you do it
1,000.
If you do it in the 3.
So as you all know, we have to come up with what our recommendation is, and we have to present this to the Board of Finance. They may choose to agree with us, and they may choose to ask us to look at other options if they have some. But this is to the best of our knowledge, this is where we stand.
I have a question. Near the top, it says waiting on Webster for interest rates.
Oh, I'm sorry. They did come through.
Payments.
Well,
this comes out?
Well, the reason why we're waiting on it is until you lock something in, they can't.
It's never. Okay.
So they gave me an estimated rate.
So I'll take waiting out, and this is estimated.
So Anita, the 4-year is 1 point higher than 3-year because of interest? I mean, 1 point lower?
That's what they're giving, yes.
Okay.
And again, I know that interest rates have come down since he gave us this number, so there could be additional savings in that. But you can't lock it in until I make the phone call. You can't give me a definite.
So if we took $2 million from our surplus, we would have approximately $10 million left.
Yeah, that's what I get.
Okay. And interest rates right now are high, so I would think if now...
Interest rates are about 5%, with 5.1 right now.
So we could, how long would it take to recoup? I mean, we're going
to be honest,
Matt is positioning our money, I expect, in ways that it's performing the best it can.
Mm-hmm.
So I would expect that our earning power right now is the highest it's been in a long time.
It's 5.1 that Webster just, and we were at 4.25. We just went up to 5.1. But again, with rates changing, so you can make 5 on it. So if you're only financing, the financing is 4.5. So you're actually still making money on your money.
Exactly.
Do you have an extra copy of this?
I think that was all I had.
Okay. We're just going to give BJ one.
Oh, wait, here's one. I just...
BJ?
Thank you.
Mr. Birnblum from Board of Finance just arrived, so we just provided him with this information as well.
Are there any other recommendations at this time to consider?
That's after talking to everybody. This is the best scenario we thought instead of borrowing the whole amount.
Correct. Yep.
In your discussion with Matt Ward, did he have any suggestion? I mean, did he lean either way?
He was fine with it. He did bring up the same valid points about the interest, and we did talk about the different interest rates. And again, right now, until a decision is made, you don't know what the rates are going to be. You really need to lock something in, or they can give you an estimate when it comes closer to doing it. So I think right now it's a good scenario. But again, if you don't know what interest is going to be at the time we actually go and do that.
We also know, so if we're going to finance $1.3 million, for example, what our terms would be on financing that, monthly payments.
Right there. It's already scheduled.
Okay, it's down here over. Okay.
Right there. It's you pay. It's basically if you do the 3-year, $438,333.33, and then you will pay the interest. And the interest is normally broken up in 2 payments.
Okay.
Every 6 months. So the 60 would be broken up into 2, so it would be a 30 and a 30.
Got it.
And then if you do the 4, your payment is $328,750.
Got it. I didn't realize those were payment schedules. Okay. Did Matt do any projections on how it would affect our taxes to the citizens? Many times when we finance something, there would be a projection that if we are financing this amount, this is how it will impact a property owner whose value of their property is $350,000, $500,000, or $1 million, so that we could see how it would affect every taxpayer in town. And I don't know if that's something BJ would put out there.
That was not done. That wasn't even brought up.
No, I understand you were talking about the financing, but down the road, most people are going to ask, how is this going to impact my tax payment twice a year? How much will my taxes increase based on financing $1.3 million?
And basically a payment of $400,000 a year should not really impact you.
It shouldn't move the needle.
It should not move the needle any. Yeah.
Jim, any thoughts?
No.
Do we want to make a recommendation at this time? Would you like to give this some thought, and we do this at our January 16th meeting?
We're meeting next week, correct?
That's
But
for
that's
budget.
budget. So 2 weeks from yesterday we meet. The 15th.
Right, and then the Board of Finance meeting is
next week.
That night.
No, because our meeting's on Monday, theirs is on Tuesday.
Right, but we're meeting on Tuesday that week because it's Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, I stand corrected.
15th, so the 16th, we'll meet in the morning, and then we could make that I can put it on the agenda that our recommendation would go before the Board of Finance that night.
Anita, I appreciate all this. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot
for you to bring it to us so quickly, so thank you. But I think if you'd like to digest it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. So we can, and Anita, maybe for the Board of Finance meeting on the 16th, we might have some new interest rates if we can get them.
All right,
Just a thought.
I'll reach out to them.
I mean, it doesn't have to be this week, but so we will move this to our meeting on the 16th.
Okay.
All right, thank you both. All right, and then Anita is up with a salary study review, which we finally received from Andy Frank. And so Randy Frank Consulting was hired by us to do a salary study. After HR Consulting was done, did some work with us on job descriptions in 2022, and when they finished, they met with us and had offered to go on and do another salary study, and we chose to move with Randy Frank because she had done work for us before. I have to say that having 3 finance directors, 2 payroll coordinators, and various HR people popping in and out over the last year has been a little confusing to get this done. It should have been not have taken as long, and perhaps Randy could have been provided with some more correct documentation before she got it. So I want to point out that there was no payroll. Anita and I luckily found 2 pieces of paper that we provided to Randy just about a month and a half ago, and I had to.
What is no payroll?
It was basically, we didn't have a payroll scale from the grades and the steps. Okay. And it could not be found on the computer in the finance director's office. We contacted Matt Ward, we talked to Andy Russell, and we talked to David Kelsey, David and Andy were both on compensation.
Right.
They did not have anything in their files. So then we found this piece of paper, 2 pieces of paper stapled together, and we were trying to put together if it was the true salary schedule, and we found that there were some similarities to what people were being paid, but there were others that were kind of not on there. And as you know, during COVID, we made some adjustments last year to people who had filled in because we were short on staff. Michelle Hayes had filled in for Michelle Noren, and we'd had Amy Jen's in helping to fill in when Nicole was out as well. So we've made some adjustments to their salaries, but we still were having some trouble matching everyone up. So Anita and I did our best.
There was not many that did match any schedules.
So we did send that, though, to Randy so that she would have it, and then she finally came together with this recommended compensation schedule that you see here. She did add, we currently only go, and Anita, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we currently go to a step 6. She extended it to a step 9.
Yes, she.
And that is because in many cases, many of our people are already at step 6 because they have been here for so long. Mm-hmm. And that means that the only thing that they receive is a cost of living increase, which last year I believe was 2.5%, and they received no step increase at all. So, again, we're not asking for major decisions, and I will tell you that on the 4th, I am meeting with the Compensation Committee, who is B.J. Bloom, David Kelsey, and Andy's going to call in, and myself and Anita. So we will be sitting down with them for this to review, but they have to make some decisions as a compensation committee of how they would like to proceed. But I wanted to share this with all of you, and I think if you have questions, if you would like to send them to that committee, or to me, and I can pose them to the committee as they answer them.
After I look at it.
And again, these are for 22-23. These are not for the current year. So these are 22-23 because also we had to modify because as of January 1st, minimum wage went to $15.69.
So when you say it was for 22-23.
This is 22-23 fiscal year is what these are paper.
And Anita can modify this for the.
Okay. So would there be retroactive adjustments because it's based on 22-23, or are we just using this information to make decisions moving forward?
It would be information moving forward because really the only people at minimum wage would be our rangers and our summer help. So although you could input and it will change the entire document by cents moving up.
One of the questions I had is I know that Jim is a paid position, I'm a paid position, and so is Matt Ward, and none of those 3 positions are listed on the salary.
They were not.
And I wonder why it's not.
They were not. I guess there was again, I'm coming in way after this whole thing started.
I know that.
I guess there was.
Why are they not considered?
I guess there was a large number that were not included in the study. Why I have no answer. We did ask that, but that was when she completed her that was not part of her scope, and I guess she bid out and gave a price.
She was asked to do 27 positions.
So if there are more than just the 3 of us, are they going to be?
I was going to call before.
If we're going to make it happen.
Yes, and I was just basically going to call to the local towns because she gave us a list of the towns that she did contact and call and ask them and see or find who their finance person is and send them an email to find out what they're currently paying their people.
And if it were more than just the 3 of us, the people who may not have been considered, are they being paid at least minimum wage if you break it down hourly? So.
You mean stipend position type?
No, I mean, are we the only 3 who were not reviewed? Are there other positions out there?
There's others.
And those others should be looked at as well to make sure that we have kept them.
There was a list that Sheila sent to her that weren't, and I don't think they're anything.
Public Works and Police are not on here because they have their own
contract.
contract.
I understand that, and I know they're paid more than minimum wage.
So that takes out a bulk of
and I think majority are covered.
The majority are covered. The 3 stipend positions, treasurer and 2 selectmen, are not and haven't been reviewed except for the 2.5% that they've gotten.
Right.
But I and Anita, I know you're busy because auditors are coming. I am more than happy to reach out to the first selectman in each town and ask them what they're paying.
Yeah.
I can do that really quickly.
And Matt Ward, I did go over some of this with him too, and he says he was going to ask a couple people he knew too.
Good.
Yep.
Great. And just if we're going to do it, let's get it all done at once.
Right, and I'll have that for the compensation committee on Thursday.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So Anita and Martha, am I getting this right, that up until now there really wasn't any sort of salary schedule? Not how process?
There was, we found hidden in the finance documents, we did find something.
It didn't really relate to reality.
It didn't, no.
It wasn't
Well,
I mean, it's not.
on Board of Finance meetings, when we reviewed salary, there were usually charts that showed steps or levels of payment and how many years of service, whether that was accurate or correlated properly.
There was a spreadsheet.
I'm not saying that.
There was a
but there
spreadsheet,
were
and most
positions and names with, say, a history of what their salary is and what their recommended increase was at
Correct.
the time.
And I did update that, and it has been updated to go to the committee.
Mm-hmm.
So I did update that document, but that document, most of the people were not on a grade.
Right, and without an HR department, I am sure there is a lot of missing information that you're trying to reconstruct or create.
Well, no, I recreated it. I worked on it, and it's been recreated. And
Sheila has put in her 2 cents as the HR consultant that we've hired.
And but on the sheet, what I did to adjust it to meet what the salary study is, I put a grade comparable to where this salary study shows that.
Gotcha.
So that in next year's projections, I had some place to go.
Just perfect.
And personally, I mean, as someone who's worked with contracts and things, I feel like this should be a document that lives for our that lives on our website under Human Resources for our people, our employees, to know what it is that they are receiving. I think it's really important for people to be able to plan.
Yeah, a lot of places have their contracts out there.
Right.
People have been very dissatisfied with the way it's been handled in the past.
Right.
Let's
So
make it better.
we're hoping to be as transparent with them as possible. So I will let you know what, I think it's great if you could take some time to go over
Of
this.
course.
And then if you have any specific questions, but I will get those stipend positions from the other towns and we'll let you know what that is.
And I like this recommended compensation schedule that's included as well. This, to go with this, and all the breakdown.
And that is what they'll be getting, and even compensation.
Got it.
Plus Anita's done one line, some other information as well that she can hand out to them. Okay, so we're moving on to our salary, our tax ordinance draft, and I wanted to say something quick, but I have sent this out to the players. I think you're done. Are you done?
No, I want to talk about this tax ordinance. That's my next, because
All right, so hold on one sec, because we know that this is just a draft.
But I've done this in a previous job, and I have recommendations.
Am I on the right
Okay,
page?
so-
Just to make sure.
So Anita, there's a lot of recommendations from people coming in. Melinda's played in already this morning. I'm sure Suzanne will as well. And that's why this was just a draft. Vicki had found the application for the town of Ledyard, which I had provided to the selectmen before, and they know what it is. So this is no way going to be accepted today because all of the players have to agree with it. I just did it out as a total draft to say. So if you want to go over the issues, what numbers you have issues with, and you're going to have to type for us and send to the three of us what changes you feel need to be made, and then it's going to be you and Suzanne and Melinda who are really going to play a key part in how this is drafted.
Okay.
So if you just would point out the numbers that you have concerned us about.
Okay. Currently, your number 4,
Mm-hmm.
your number 4, I never received one of these. All I get is a one number. It's a end of year summary report that tells me. I have no detail. You said the tax collector will produce an overpayment report. I have never received this. So I couldn't even, I don't know QDF. I've worked on the other system, GEMS. I've figured out how to run a couple reports on QDF.
But that's not your responsibility. It's the tax collector's responsibility. And I'm not sure that that's working for her because that code TXE131IR is definitely something that Melinda's already brought up, that may not be our code that we work under. So this could be something different.
And then in a previous position, over here it says at
what number?
Number 13.
Yeah.
It says number 12. Number 12. The report should be given to you prior to any refunds going out, not after the checks have been cut. Because you should be aware of everything before it happens, not after. Once the check's cut, it's already gone.
We understand that.
And it says at the end we're going to give you, but we should give you, the report should be at the beginning before, not at the end.
Well, the end is just a summary of what has gone out, but actually each one of these is signed off on. So I would do this when these come about. If what the purpose is that I noticed the wording on the bottom of our documentation says the first selectman, as authorized by the Board of Selectmen or blank, approved on this date, and it's voted to refund. The problem was we don't have an ordinance saying that I can sign off on this. So this is why this document was created. So we know that none of this happens. But what we're trying to do is create a check and balance system.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. As the number 12, you do sign off because the check registers come to many people to sign off, and it is part of that check register, and it does show on the check register. So over here you're saying a treasurer report to come back to the selectmen, or is it just the check register? That needs to be clarified.
It's basically just saying that the tax collector would run that so that she would have a report of what checks were issued in that month. Not that and it would be just a report to the treasurer, report to Matt Ward. These are the ones that went out. This would not be a report that's going to you. It could go to us. It can go to Matt. But it's just basically, this is what we paid out this month in tax refunds. It's just a simple report so that someone else is aware of it.
That's why I was asking, because it is on the check register that he signs off.
He signs off.
Yeah, but
it's redundant.
Well, they're individual, though, and it's sometimes when you look at the check register, you'd have to go through the entire list. Because the check register has a lot of different checks on it, and there's individual names. Sometimes it's just a simple reimbursement for postage or something. But this would just be another report that she can generate, and I'm not sure she wants to. Again, this is Suzanne has to weigh in.
It's redundant, yes, but it's just, it might only be a sheet of paper with two names on it or zero.
Okay, that's why I was just questioning that one.
On each payable that goes through, so we're doing it twice.
Okay, and number 13 and 14, review posted in the tax system reconcile tax records to the refund reports?
It's a check and balance.
But you're reconciling it every time you reconcile a bank account.
No.
No, I mean, if a check is issued, you've cleared it. The money's gone.
And this is why I'm asking, is where I came from. Every month, the tax office would give me an overpayment report, and I had a separate overpayment report. Mm-hmm. It had a list of everybody's name and what they owed. Any time the person got added or taken off, it came off my list.
Right.
My list always balances to their end of month report.
Correct.
So I don't even, I would have to even start, for one, you have to give me a detailed report to start with. That's my way of balancing. It's because there's no other way to balance correctly. You're not going to balance.
You're saying we're
numbers.
giving you more work and more reports to produce when we...
No, I'm just asking that all this information is going to have to be provided so we could start somewhere.
Okay, so can I just say something? I think we're getting ahead of this process.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I really wanted, that's why I sent this to you and Melinda and Suzanne yesterday to all weigh in.
Okay.
I didn't expect it would weigh in.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought that's what this was.
Because if it had
this going, I'm like, okay.
All of them. But I really think that you and Melinda and Suzanne and I need to sit down and then figure out.
It's like, exactly. If it's going to pass, it's like
You've got a whole new project coming up.
No, the process was under new business, necessarily doesn't things get voted on. It's kind of like the first time through.
Okay.
But if we had the opportunity, it would be great if we could get this, as I mentioned in email, it would be wonderful if we could move this on to the town meeting at the end of the month. But that's only if we can approve it before the January 16th meeting, and it's not a definite.
And the approval that we're looking for is an ordinance to allow the selectmen
and that's
to sign
definitely
off on something, a refund of $2,000.
Right.
That's definitely.
Or less.
And that's just, and that's really what it is. So some of these could come out. It's really and truly what works best for the town of Ode Lyme. I totally
correct. I agree with that.
So this is a work in process.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time,
Happy first day.
we have a request to go into executive session once again to regarding the lease or sale of real estate by the town of Ode Lyme for purpose of developing it for affordable housing. I'd like a motion to go into the second executive session.
So moved.
That's Jude.
I'll second.
Jim. And that means that we are moving into executive session at 10:52. And I am turning off the phone for those of you. When we come back out of executive session, it will be noted on our minutes. Thank you for attending.